Servus, Männer, it's Red Pill Germany again. After all these months of awkward silence from the side of our regimes and the mainstream media, and then the wild speculations of a certain Seymour Hersh, we finally have an official state version, an official regime narrative of how the Nord Stream 1 and 2 pipelines were blown up in the Baltic Seas by the end of September last year. A couple of days ago, almost at the same time, Democrat Party-aligned news outlets and also German state media announced pretty much the same story, that there were some investigations and they don't have evidence yet, but there are clues and leads, and they all point to a pro-Ukrainian group that cannot be identified, and that 6 people, 5 guys and 1 woman, in a sailing yacht, a sailing boat, started from Rostock, Germany, and they blew up those pipelines by diving down there 80 meters and then putting hundreds of kilos or even over a ton of explosives on the pipeline, and then they blew it up. Yeah, that is the story they want to go with. So let's look a little bit at the details. In today's presentation, I want to give you an overview of what I have read so far, and then I want to share my humble opinion with you. So according to the newspapers, the Federal Prosecutor General, that is the Generalbundesanwalt in Germany, he is investigating this case, and together with law enforcement and the German military, they finally could launch an investigation, since of course Sweden is not sharing their results with ours, and everyone treats this as a big state secret. So that means that the German military, they were diving down there and they were making pictures, and eventually they found a yacht in Rügen. That is an island off the coast in the Baltic Sea, a German island, and there they said they located this yacht Andromeda. It is a 15-meter long sailing boat by the model type Bavaria Cruiser 50, and they claim that 6 people, as I mentioned before, who used, of course, fake IDs, were renting this yacht for a company that is owned by 2 Ukrainians that is based in Poland. And these people allegedly transported hundreds of kilograms of explosives in a truck to the port in Rostock, where they loaded these explosives and their gear onto this little sailing boat, and then they went on their grand tour to blow up these pipelines. Of course, I should say that I'm neither a diver nor an explosives expert. I don't know anything about that. I just read the general articles, and there are some forums where people are speculating and trying to evaluate, like people who know a little bit more about diving or demolishing buildings and stuff like that, how these charges normally work, what types of charges there are. And what I could find out based on the experience of these people is that this was an operation that was carried out with brute force. They didn't want to take any chances. They set charges on 2 points of the pipelines, and they used hundreds of kilograms of explosives in order to really open up and drive this pipe really into the ground at the bottom of the sea. So based on these images they saw, they could pretty clearly evaluate that this was not a precision strike with a small amount of explosive material, but really a brute force strike. And that means, once again, on this small ship, hundreds of kilograms of explosives, and also the diving gear and 6 people. And it is a 15-meter long sailing boat, but it sounds a little bit fishy to me, to be honest, or at least very challenging. Let's put it that way. These people must have been complete pros, and they also had a bit of luck. I don't know how these waters are, how the weather is, September, October, around that time of the year, but it's just a sailing boat and a rented one. So they either had a lot of luck or they were absolute pros. The investigators then also said that they found traces of these explosives on the yacht, on the inside or on a table or something like that. That means these absolute pros didn't even clean the ship before they gave it back, before they returned it. I also don't know if they conveniently left their passport in the yacht when they gave it back, like in some very interesting criminal cases in Germany, where investigators keep on claiming that the suspect left their passport in the car or at the site of the crime. I don't know how they even identified these people or how they got the lead that this one yacht would have been suspicious. I don't know how many yachts are rented over the course of a week there normally, but we don't really know how the first lead that pointed towards this ominous group came to be. And let's not forget that our Chancellor Olaf Scholz visited US President Biden at the beginning of March this year, and he went there without press, without an entourage, and he also didn't have a big dinner or something like that. No, just a private talk without any statement at the end, without any minutes or any press release that I know of. Just a private meeting to talk something over in complete secrecy. That is very, very suspicious in my eyes, I have to tell you. Or do you think this is normal at a time like this? I also find it weird that the US is basically giving this out as the official version now when it was apparently a German investigation. So it just seems to me, and hey, whoa, this is just my personal private opinion, right? It looks to me like Scholz and Biden, they met there and they figured out what kind of message, what kind of version, what kind of story they want to go with. And they just settled on that, because the convenient thing is, by blaming a pro-Ukrainian group that is not further specified or identifiable in any way, and that's very convenient, it gets the suspicious press, if there is any left, off of the US's back after these revelations or the narrative of Mr. Hirsch. And as silly as it is a little more believable than their first version, which was that 3 drunk Russian squirrels fell into the water, blew up the pipeline, and vanished out of sight before anybody saw them. Believe me, bro. Of course, Ukraine now answered and they said, we have nothing to do with this whatsoever, which is also cool because they didn't say it was Ukraine, they said it was a pro-Ukrainian group. So basically it was some activist dudes from a peace demonstration or something, huh? Of course, there are many more questions, like why not just rent a yacht in Poland? Why go via Germany? That doesn't make any sense to me. You could carry these explosives and rent the yacht from a Polish harbor just as well. And then the whole operation would be in the territory of a friendly nation that supports this attack. And well, you can say the same about Germany, of course. I think the German regime, the establishment here, is quite happy that this pipeline was blown up anyway. But the general federal prosecutor has to investigate, because technically it is an attack on German and European energy stability and our infrastructure, blah, 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 blah. But this is, of course, just show. I think that Scholz is absolutely informed by the US. He knows how it really happened and who did it and when they did it and who gave the order. I think Scholz knows all that. He is definitely briefed. So as I said, I don't have any secret information, of course, nor am I an expert in any of these fields that are maybe necessary in order to evaluate that properly. I'm just saying, in my personal opinion, this sounds very fishy and a little bit too convenient for the United States right now. And I've heard maybe 1 or 2 lies too many from the side of the United States when it comes to military operations or how certain wars were started, let's say, and who had what kind of weapons. Maybe I don't trust them anymore when it comes to these very convenient statements that they use in order to justify what they're doing. But of course, I should stress that none of these narratives or versions of the story like it was Norway and the US, or it was a pro-Ukrainian group, or it was 3 drunk Russian squirrels. None of these stories are supported by direct evidence, and there is no proof yet for any of these versions. And I also think there probably never will be, but I guess the current version that I talked about today is what they will write in the history books, and this is what they will go with until we find out the truth maybe in 60 years when it's disclosed. I have no idea. Let me know what you think about that in the comments down below. Thanks for listening. Servus, Kameraden.